What's up, douchebags? I want to give a shout out to what's her name? Jamie Gumdrop. Thanks to Jamie Gumdrop, I know now what cat's eye is, and I have a massive boner for Laura, the Indian bitch. So if anything happens negatively with Horfany, you're on deck. Yeah, just don't be annoying. All right, that's kind of a joke because now that I know what's going on with Tiffany, I don't think she's ever going to stop. I also understand now why she's constantly pissing me off for no reason. Look, you got to understand something. When I met her, I was like focused on getting some certifications to build my career. I wanted to be, I'm like close to where I want to be right now. I'm not exactly where I want to be right now, or where I thought I would, where I wanted to be 10 years from now, or 10 years ago. I'm close. What happened was Horfany kept getting in the way. Like immediately after I met her, like technically, oh my God, I was so drunk. Oh my God, I was so drunk. So, even though I don't feel like she should blame me for it, the reason why she blames me for her debt is because overskin was her way of saying, I feel bad. I should have actually worn a sexy outfit to the party thingamajiggy, not dress up like a nun. I kind of saw that as a challenge. I was like, let's get all that. Let's see what she looks like beneath all that. But so that's not what it was. What it was I remember we were fooling around, and I said, I'll be right back. And I was thinking to myself, okay, just walk around for like 5, 10 minutes. That way she thinks that you're doing something and you know a bunch of people. Then come back and keep fooling around with her. And when I came back, she was talking to that douchebag who probably is like Gollum because Will Chamberlain being such a douche made me not want to like associate with any of those grifters. But I was like, oh, you talked to that motherfucker? Peace out. And that was probably the best move ever because she was like, no, you can't ignore me. I have to stalk him and call him. And she started calling me like the next day. I remember the next day I got back from the party, or like the next 2 days, and I woke up and someone called my phone. And now I remember I gave her my old business card with my email, my phone number, and all that bullshit. So that's how she can get a hold of me all the time. But at the time, I hadn't remembered that yet. And I just wake up and my phone's going off. And I was like, hello? I just hear someone going, and I was like, hello? And then they hung up. And I was like, what the fuck? And then some really hot girl, her voice was super hot. It was Tiffany, kept calling my old boxing gym and leaving messages for me and Coach Jones. And I was like, Coach, we should call her. She sounds really hot. And he was like, she's probably bullshitting. If she was serious, she would just show up. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Anyways, so Overskin was supposed to be about Tiffany finally getting her rocks off. And that was her like big, like inspirational, I'm a grown woman moment. Her management, like Tiffany would be like, I want to rent out my um high school trombone section and make a music video about the guy who did all those things to me. I didn't know I could feel those kinds of things. Yeah, I know. Like, I don't want to cheapen anything, but like when I was like maybe 24, maybe 23, around that age, because I was living in Charlottesville, they have this thing called Virginia School of Massage. And I was like, I don't want to be a masseuse. And I certainly don't want to get stuck on a cruise ship being paid to give old people massages. But if I could learn how massages work and what buttons to push, then I could push all kinds of buttons on really hot bitches and they won't even know what's going on. So I basically took some classes at the Virginia School of Massage and learned what buttons to push. And there was this, oh man, I probably shouldn't talk about Anne. Anne was crazy. Anne was one of those girls who like you think she's single and when you meet her and you like fool around and then she's like, I have to go. My fiance is waiting for me. He's cooking dinner. And I was like, oh shit, you have a fiance? And I was like, forget about that. Just play World of Warcraft and ignore her. And then she like came to my apartment and was like, "You've been ignoring me. You can't do that to me." And I was like, "Holy shit." So, I won't get into that right now. That's too much. I just remember I was like, "Oh, I can't get into that right now." Oh my God. No, she like drove her car into a tree one time. Like, what was it? Like, okay, so like there's a tree here and the road here, and then you like sidewalk, like the apartments, and then like another road. And like I don't know what it was, but I like got out of the car and I'm walking, and I got in front of the car to walk, right? And she started like driving, and I started running, and I like ran past the tree, and she like bumped up onto the sidewalk and hit the tree and got out and started screaming. Not even like at me, just like scream. Ah! I let that bitch calm down, and then I like called her a tow truck and like changed her tire and was like, "You need to get the fuck out of here now. You're fucking crazy. You're not even Asian. You're just some blonde white bitch. Get the fuck out of here." Holy shit. Oh my God, that was so fucking crazy. And then her dog ran away one time and like came to my like her dog ran away and came to me, and I was like, "You have to go back. I can't keep you. You can hide out here for a little bit, but you have to go back." That was so. Well, I'm not talking about that shit right now. Oh my God. Anyways, so after I meet Tiffany, these strange things start happening, right? And I literally, it probably was her agent stalking me because probably the agent was like, we need to get his crypto money. That way we can use it and all that bullshit. And we'll give some to Tiffany to make it pretend that, but they're just using her. So then, uh, I only got on like Tinder and shit like that because I couldn't find her again, and I was like, well, let's do a Hail Mary. Let me sign up for Tinder, and I'll start looking in New York and L.A. and maybe I'll find that Asian bitch again. She found me and started stalking me. I started making like fake profiles to like make sure I don't date anyone. Like all I can think about it is she's like, I'm busy right now and I'm in contracts, so you can't date anyone either. And I was like, what the like that's what it felt like. I felt like someone was like stalking me and trying to like keep me from getting matches. Especially after that Brazilian bitch that I matched up with on Tinder. She's probably mad about she's probably mad about that. You should have just showed up to the brunch. So you're a fucking agent. Uh, anyways, it's taking too long. So basically, her agent has been trying to push her into doing Smut since 2018 because Smut sells and she's basically bankrupt. So what they probably did was give her like an operating budget of like something around $1 million for her tour, her solo album shit, all that bullshit. And then after her tour and then COVID, she was like in the red. And they were like, "You owe us." And she's like, well, I can't do that. That's smut. So she ran away to Korea to like stall in 2020, 2021. Then, yes, oh my God, I didn't. I thought like 2021. Remember when I had all that when Theta was $16? Even before I hold up the Theta and it's only like half a million, $700,000. That was around the time when I was like, what happened? Because I had all that. I was like, what are all the things I've always ever wanted to do? And I was like, Tiffany Wang from Girls' Generation. And I started like looking up Tiffany Wang. And I was like, yeah, Galaxy Supernova, all the other bullshit, the Genie song, and the and all that bullshit, where they're all like super hot. And then I was like, Tiffany Young. I was like, who's Tiffany Young? I was like, is that Tiffany Wang from Girls' Generation? I don't know. Like, Teach You. What's that about? That's that bitch from Night for Freedom Part 1. Tiffany's the girl from Night for Freedom. She doesn't remember me, does she? Oh, she's salty as fuck about me not calling her. Holy shit. That's basically like, and I was like, trying to fix everything. So I flashed her my crypto wallet. I don't know why. I was probably allegedly shrooming or something. And then nothing. Someone just kept asking me for $80,000 like nonstop. And I was like, who the fuck is this? How do you know all my information? Because I gave her my card in 2018. And I should have probably changed all that by now, but I haven't because I just get lazy sometimes. So basically, what she was, and then I remember she wanted me to meet her and her dad for some kind of fancy dinner. She even flew out to DC, and I was like, if you fly out to DC to have dinner with me and your dad, why don't you just have dinner with your dad and then just come see me? I don't want to like, how old are you that I have to go meet your dad right away and all that bullshit. I'm sure you're a nice. I may have already met you, and if that's the case, pleasure to see you again. And if not, I'm sure you're a great person. I just, from my point of view, I was like, why are you doing this? Just tell me what you want. Obviously, you want to tell me something. I don't want to go to dinner and play all that bullshit for you to tell me it. Just tell me it. That's not how she works. Anyways, so probably what she was trying to tell me in November of 2022 was, I'm in massive debt because I made all those songs about you, and because you got me hot and bothered, my management team wants to turn me into a smut actress because all those sexy, sensual songs that I made just for you, they try to turn into chart topping hits. None of them really did anything, so now they're trying to sell my brand as a smut actress. Help. She didn't say any of that. She said, the family needs you to have a job. Then she just like took a bunch of money. Like just took it. She didn't ask. I understand she was desperate, but she just took it. And then she said, I'll explain it later. And I was like, no, you will explain it right fucking now. And she was like, I have to go to Korea. And I was like, what the fuck? And then she wouldn't stop bothering me. And I was like, you got the money. Like, why are you still bothering? You could just go, and no one would really bother you or think twice about it. And she kept bothering me, and bothering me, and bothering me. And now, what it seems like, because NIKO was shelved, was her management team was using her debt to push her into smut because this is taking way too long. I'll have to bust out the AI maybe tomorrow when I have more time because it's the weekend, and show you guys how I mapped it all out and all that bull. Because like I was like AI, does this sound plausible? And the AI was like, actually, if you would have said just this, or even just these two, or this bunch, it would sound like bullshit. But because you've said this, and those other things, all in the sequence, and then these other things happen like you said they would, it actually sounds like you're 100% spot on. And I was like, oh shit. So basically, what happened was, okay, so like NIKO probably paid her at most $25,000, right? So they sign her up for a script. This will be your big indie movie break. I think she was telling me it was supposed to be like NIKO was supposed to be like a flower shop owner or some bullshit like that. And then they rewrite it after she signs it, and they're like, "Oh, look, NIKO was supposed to be a like part-time job for someone who lost their keys. They were gonna make NIKO a part-time prostitute." Okay, so then like if you remember, I was yelling at her, telling her just to go be a prostitute on screen. Why do you think, right? Anyways, um, then they were offering what's called intimacy incentives. Oh yeah, we only paid you 25K to do NIKO, but if you do some smut scenes, we'll give you 5K for this, 10K for nudity in the shower, and you already gave Cyberpunk guy you in the bathtub. Why not do a shower scene? And then if you do a sex scene, we'll give you so that all in all, they were gonna double her pay for doing more for actually doing softcore smut, and then they could film it. Then if they had Tiffany Young from Girls' Generation, who is 35, about to be 36, so they thought she would jump at it for relevance because that role really should have gone to like a girl in her 20s if you think about it. So they were going to have Tiffany Young, 35, 36, 15, 17, 20 years of industry being the good girl, okay, doing smut. They paid her 25, maybe 50K if she did the smut. Then they would have turned around and marketed that bullshit and made $1 million. That's what's called a humiliation ritual. That's you didn't want to do the music video, you don't want to do Samsic, you want to end it with a hug instead of more smut. Okay, we have your contract. We're gonna have you do NIKO, and if you want to do fan tours and all that bullshit in between, that's fine. You better dance your ass off like Roxy, but you're doing NIKO as soon as you're done. And they were putting her in a position where if she doesn't do the smut, oh no, if she walks, they were trying to make her walk away from the video. That way she would be breaking her contract and they wouldn't have to pay her out. And then they were trying to pressure her to do it on set. So that's why she was always like in her room with her with her like hair team and whatnot. And if you look at the behind the scenes of her own shit, she's always like super overdressed. Like you're not getting anything off of me. Even in the Photoshop poster, she's like this. And from what I understand, she basically had her head down like this the entire time while filming. That way they couldn't Photoshop her head into some smut. They even like the Photoshop poster, they could not Photoshop it into looking like she was trying to kiss because she was like this. If she had done something like this, they could just Photoshop a face in and boom, it's a romance scene. So she literally was like this the whole time during filming, so they couldn't Photoshop her into smut. So that tells me that in November 2022, she knew they were going to push her into smut. They probably were like, all right, Tiffany, do your tour, COVID, go make some potential commercials in Korea. Then we're going to do Forever One. Then you're doing smut because you owe us money. Because when she told me that she was the girl from the party or whatever, I thought she'd be happy because like she sounded really upset. She was like, "Oh, you finally remember me." And I was like, "What?" And that probably was her being like, "Why didn't you remember me in 2018, 2019? Because of all the bullshit. Now they're trying to sell me as a whore because it doesn't make sense. Like the way they present her is a whore. But if you look at her interviews or have ever talked to her in person, she's like a massive dork. Like when I met her, she had these giant glasses. She had some kind of like a weird beret hat on that like I was like, no one wears a beret like that unless they're like a super massive dork, right? Like she's just the biggest nerd in the world. She talks about like Hogwarts and Legos and shit like that. That's not someone who wakes up every day and is like, today's my big smut break. So they've been trying to break her in since 2018, and it technically is my fault that she went into debt. It's not really. Like, I mean, technically because she thinks it is, but I don't feel responsible for it. But she makes a good point that if I would have just called her like I said I would, then it looks cooler if I run into you again. If I call you, I look like a simp. If I run into you again, then you spent 6 months waiting for me to run into you again, right? How cool is that? But anyways, so she claims that because I didn't call her, all of her like, why would they have 5 different over my skin videos? Because your agent is stalking me, and I thought it was like the crazy people at the parties. Like, are they the reason why that creepy asshole tried to hit on some weird guy was like trying to like put the moves on me? And I was like, get the fuck out. I was like, I need an adult. I need an adult. This guy's a creeper. I need an adult. Ah! Was that your fucking agent? So creepy. These people are. It's like her agent has been trying to find blackmail on me, and I don't even know why. Because like none, like it would make sense that Tiff, because like Tiffany seems like she don't care. Tiffany was even telling me she was like, you can do this, this, and this, and I won't care as long as you care about me. Tell me you love me. And I was like, I'm not into any of that crazy bullshit. I just want to play video games and stack crypto. Fucking crazy. Then why were you tweeting about that crazy bullshit? Because someone was stalking me and I was setting a trap to see who it is stalking me. And the only one who seems to be aware of all that bullshit is you through your fucking agent. So you were the one stalking me since 2018. Now that I don't care. I know what's going on now. So I just want to go back to normal for me doing. And now she needs me to be the bad guy. That way, when I say shit like Nico's a smut and they were trying to set her up and ruin her career, she can't say that. That's NDA. I can say that I didn't sign anything, and she didn't tell me. I used AI to reverse engineer everything, so I could be off, but not by much, or they wouldn't be pissy about it and all that bullshit. But no, she was like, I went to a party, I met a guy, we had a great time. They were like, okay, so you're ready to evolve into a smut actress? She was like, no, I didn't say that. I said I met a guy and I had a great time. They were like, great, here, put on this short skirt and start touring with rappers. That way we can make money. Oh, you didn't want to tour with rappers? I hope he gave you a bunch of money because we're gonna put you in some low budget projects and try to force you to do smut because we own you for 2 more years. And now that's over. And to be quite honest, you should have just told me that because I would have given you the $200,000 you needed to break all this bullshit and be done 2 years ago, and I would have just kept working and not taken a year off and all that stupid bullshit because you can't fucking communicate. Whatever.